Hello, everyone, and welcome to a very different episode from what all of us have been doing usually. Um, this time it's not only me, Azucena Garcia, but it's like four other podcasters, and I'm very, very excited that I get to have a chat with our guest today, Theresa Sukal Moulton. Did I say your name right, Theresa?
Yeah, you sure did.
Muy bien. So like I said, one of the hosts of one of the podcasts that will be present this year at the Aacpdm 2025 in New Orleans. And we just want to give you like an overview of what will be happening in today's, not in today's, but in this year's conference in New Orleans. We're very excited. It'll be my first time in New Orleans, so I'm really looking forward to going to the city. But I'll pass it on to my other co-hosts for today. I guess I will start with Kilby.
Hi, I'm Kilby Mann. I'm a pediatric rehabilitation medicine physician at Children's Hospital Colorado. I'm also one of the co-hosts of the Complex Care Journal Club podcast, which is hosted by Open Pediatrics. You can check out their YouTube channel if you want to see some of what we've done. And I am also excited to be recording again at the ACPDM. We did it for the first time last year, and we're really excited to see so many other podcasts taking part at the meeting. I'm actually Mississippi born and raised, so spent a lot of time in New Orleans. And so I'm excited that the meeting this year will be close to family, and I'm going to get to spend some time with my family and also enjoy the meeting. Or do you want me to pick the next person?
Yeah.
Yeah, I will pick the next person. Jen, tell us about what your podcast is and what you're looking forward to.
Thanks, Kilby. Yeah, I'm Jen Lyman. I am the Director of Clinical Recruitment and Community Resources for the Cerebral Palsy Foundation, and I'm the host of Cerebral Palsy Health. It's a podcast for parents and families and adults with cerebral palsy, speaking with experts about a variety of topics related to CP. And yeah, similar to you, Kilby, I'm a New Orleanian. So this is coming home for me, and I'm excited to show everybody this great city and all the fun that there's to be had there.
So Jen, New Orleans, New Orleans,
New
Nolens.
Orleans, New Orleans. I kind of float back and forth between New Orleans and New Orleans. Yeah, I kind of hip hop both ways. Well, do we want to go to Theresa next? Or no? Let's go with Tyler. Sorry, Theresa. I feel like you're gonna have to go last since you're kind of running the whole show here.
Hi, everyone. My name's Tyler McDonald. I am a pediatric orthopedic surgeon at the University of South Alabama, which is in Mobile, Alabama, which is maybe about 2 hours from New Orleans. So looking forward to coming over. We're also on the Gulf Coast. I drive across the Mobile Bay every day on my way to work. It's a great area of the country. So, and I love New Orleans because my wife and I are big foodies. So really looking forward to going there. It's an awesome city. I'm one of the co-hosts for Peds Ortho, which is the official podcast of POSNA, the Pediatric Orthopedic Society of North America. And this will be my first meeting with AACPDM, so really excited to see what it's all about. I take care of a lot of kids with neuromuscular conditions in my practice, so really excited to kind of rub elbows with other people in the field and learn something to take back to my patients.
And then last but not least, our guest for today, Theresa.
Yes, thank you. I am the outlier in many ways. I do not have a podcast, and I also am not from the South. So I'm excited for the chance to visit New Orleans and to learn more about it. This is Theresa Moulton. I am a white, middle-aged woman with blonde hair pulled back in a ponytail. I'm delighted to be here talking with you today. I'm the current vice president of AACPDM, and so I have the honor of really having quite a responsibility to help plan the meeting. And we are just so delighted to be having you all there as a way to share the amazing things that are happening at the meeting with a broader audience, to lean into the many ways that people consume information. My training, my background is in physical therapy. I'm at Northwestern University in Chicago, Illinois. So we had the meeting here a couple years ago. I got to be the local, and now I get to be the out-of-towner exploring for the first times. And yeah, thank you so much for having me on this really cool collab podcast.
Absolutely. I wanted to ask, well, I actually forgot to introduce my own podcast.
Exactly.
I'm the host of Parálisis Cerebral Respuestas, which is a podcast in Spanish where I am primarily interview doctors in Spanish from all over Latin America and also the US. So I've done a couple of interviews in English. I'm trying to get information to our Hispanic Latino community all over. And I have CP myself. So that is my podcast and that is me. But going back to the conference this year, the main theme is, celebrating resilience. And I think my first question, and please everyone feel free to jump in at any time, but what was your vision when you started to, since last year, that it was determined who was going to be, the chairs of the scientific committee, and then, everyone who was going to be part of it? What was your vision moving forward? Because I know there's a lot of new elements this year, which I'm very excited about. So please tell us, Theresa, what was your vision? What did you want people to feel, to take away from this conference coming in?
I really appreciate the way that you framed all of that. And really, I think it started by who is the team that's collecting these ideas together. And so one of my first jobs in this role was to select scientific co-chairs for the meeting who really help to create the vision and bring it to life. And I have some amazing partners in Paige Church and Dave Fromberg. Paige is a neonatologist and developmental pediatrician, and Dave is an orthopedic surgeon. And so we have very different perspectives in terms of the overall care picture and the things that our training has taught us. And I think we're all a little bit silly and celebratory and collaborative, and it's been so much fun working with them. And this idea of celebration, I think, was very central to so much of what we talked about. You mentioned what's the feeling you want people to get. And I think many times it's said that the Aacpdm is like a family and that it's sort of a reunion each year when we come together for the annual meeting. And that idea of celebration, particularly being in New Orleans, where celebration is so central to many aspects of the culture, we felt that that was really an important thread to have. And then the resilience piece came up, just thinking about not only the host city, but ourselves as professionals, the patients that we've worked with, and just everything that you navigate to get to this place. And we've gotten a couple curveballs since we came up with that particular theme. And so it's even more relevant perhaps than when we initially decided it. But I think what we are hoping for all attendees is to really feel something to be excited about, something to celebrate, and something to learn and take back home with them.
I see how diverse the program is. And so how did you put all of that together? How did you come up with trying to make such a diverse program?
Yeah, you may be giving us a little bit too much credit in that regard in some respects. And let me explain that piece, because we have a responsibility for the keynote and the general session speakers. And we can certainly encourage colleagues that we know are doing amazing work to submit abstracts. But realistically, the majority of the content is sourced from the members and the folks that are submitting abstracts each year. And so we have the joy and the privilege. Dave and Paige and I worked with approximately 40 other people to review every single one of the 600 abstracts that were submitted at least 3 times. 3 people looked at them and scored them. And so by that process and in doing those things, we got to see the amazing stuff that our colleagues are doing. We get to celebrate that by accepting them in a variety of different formats. And so I think that we really enjoy all of the variety of our multidisciplinary organization. in crafting the program. And we didn't necessarily go and solicit the majority of those things. But I agree, like it was so fun. We get together around, so January 31st, every year, that's when abstracts are due. And then somewhere early in March, we get together and we get to look at all of the scores that people put in and to really develop out the program. And man, it was like whatever holiday you love to celebrate, your birthday times two, to get to see all of the cool stuff that was submitted, things that were really high rigor in the science and really exciting things. So, we just have the privilege to get to select them. And in fact, it's our colleagues that are doing the amazing work that we get to highlight.
I'll say I am excited this year. I have been a part of the Aacpdm Complex Care Committee in the past, and that's actually there are 4 co-hosts for the podcast that I am a part of, the Complex Care Journal Club, and we all met and became friends and colleagues through the Aacpdm Complex Care Committee. So it's been like a great professional growth for me to be involved in the Aacpdm. And I'm not on the committee anymore, which is also kind of nice because I don't have as many responsibilities going to the conference this year. And so I am excited to have a little bit more time to kind of explore and maybe do some different sessions. I also, with the theme of resiliency, so I think those of us who kind of plan on coming to Aacpdm every year and want to present, you kind of look at the theme and say, oh, is there something in there that I could do? And one of the OTs I work with at Children's said, oh, I actually have run this resiliency program. Do you think this would be a good time to submit to Aacpdm? And I said, absolutely. And she said, would you help me with it? I said, of course, I'm happy to. So I'm really excited that we got accepted. So I'm presenting with someone I've never presented with, which I think is really fun, and it's really on theme for the conference. And so I just think it's one of the things I love most about going to Aacpdm is that it is such an interdisciplinary conference. You have some conferences, so I'm a physician, so you go to some that are like all physicians there, like the very rare non-physician there. And so this is just really great because most presentations are interdisciplinary. Hopefully Jen agrees with me that we're getting more and more like lived experience and parents presenting. And so I just think it really paints this whole picture. And for me, that's just great. So lots of things to look forward to this year.
I'll definitely chime in there. I feel like attending the conference is a celebration. It's, everybody comes together and it is that interdisciplinary celebration. And, it's like going back to family, you get to see your friends that you get to see every year. You make new friends. I've done attending since 2007. And every year we've just got this collection and it's fun for me. I'm also a parent. So my son is 20 and, so all these years, I feel like he's grown up with the Academy there to support him. And I've watched, how it's grown and how it's changed. And to your point, Kilby, the inclusion of families and parents, both as presenters, but also as attendees, has grown significantly over the years. And I think it just adds to the value that the professionals get out of it, because the conversations, the questions, the best part about the courses is the end of it when people are asking questions and you really get to the nuts and bolts of what's going on, and the questions are fantastic. And I feel like when the families and individuals with lived experience are there to ask those questions, even if it's intimidating and you might feel dumb or whatever, just ask it, and then the answers are just amazing. So I do think it's really become a celebration, and so the topic is on par for that, for sure.
I'll kind of follow up and I guess jump in what I'm pretty excited about. Obviously, looking at the program, my kind of eyes gravitate towards some of the orthopedic sessions, but there's so much on this program that's packed into just a few days, and it's really like I'm trying to decide, okay, on the first day I'm gonna go here, and then I'm gonna go to I'm really having a hard time deciding what my schedule's gonna be, because like I get FOMO pretty bad. So if I choose like one thing, I'm like, oh, I want to go to that, but then I have to miss this other thing. So I think that's a good sign that it's jam-packed with some good stuff. and I haven't been before, but it obviously, just by the nature of the organization, it's a very multidisciplinary organization. So I'm excited to kind of maybe step out from my comfort zone a little bit outside of from orthopedics and maybe see what's going on and some of the other subspecialties, and maybe bring back a little bit of flavor that I don't get from just the orthopedic circles, and hopefully highlight a little bit on that with the podcast episode we do too, to kind of sprinkle a little flair on some of the just nitty gritty ortho stuff.
We're all looking forward to different things. Yes, absolutely. I think for me, I mentioned before, it'll be my first time in New Orleans, so I'm definitely looking forward to that. And I have this question to Jen. What does it mean to you to kind of be one of the hosts, and to have the conference? I don't know if it's been there before. Actually, I've only been before to an Aacpdm meeting, which was last year, in Quebec City. But for you, what does it mean to have the meeting this year in New Orleans and have people visit?
Yeah. Well, so first off, it was supposed to be in New Orleans in 2020, and it was canceled that year, and that was devastating. We were all set, geared up to go. Everything was, raring to go, and then COVID hit, and we had to take take it off the table and go virtual for that year. So it's been building up, right? We had, a couple of years of planning before that, and then, a pivot, a big pivot, and then back home, right? So I think to me, it's really exciting because it is, like I mentioned earlier, it has been a celebration. These folks have become a family to me. The idea of having everybody in our town, and have them see the flair and the character, and the foodies, obviously, that love New Orleans. But for me, the architecture of New Orleans is just, it's stunning, and it's so unique, compared to other places in the country. But also it's a very inclusive city. People really do, people with disabilities can, are, you don't get looked at sideways there, I guess is the best way I can explain it, because everybody there is a little bit different. So if you're a little bit different, it's okay. And that's how they roll in New Orleans, and however you roll, whether you're a wheelchair roller or you're a walker roller, you're going to be accepted there for who you are. And that's really what the city's about. And I think that's exciting for me. And I always, I always tell people, yeah, bring your kids in wheelchairs. It's, I think it is a great place for people with disabilities to come visit, and experience something a little bit different. And people don't expect that about New Orleans. So I do think it'll be a fun place, where, you're not going to have any issues. There are some challenges with accessibility and things like that in some of the older buildings, but generally, people are helpful, and people will be happy to help you get around things or commiserate with you, if you're having any difficulties, and certainly will be helpful and friendly and fun, which you definitely get with New Orleans. Is a lot of fun.
I think looking at the architecture that you mentioned, especially in the downtown, I see that it's very colorful and very diverse, right? And so that leads me to my next question, which is, Theresa, you were talking about that you and Dave and Paige were in charge more than anything, about, or not about, this is me thinking in Spanish, sorry. We're in charge of the keynotes, and that is what was like your main task. And looking at the keynotes, it's a very diverse group of people, which I love. And just as a side note, I saw there is a UCSD Triton there, so thank you so much. I'm so excited about that. UCSD being my alma mater, of course. But how did you come up with this such a diverse group of keynotes for the 4 days?
Yeah, that's a great question. We really did try to lean into the theme to the extent that we could, really thinking about some of the underlying, like, neurophysiology of resilience. What does cellular resilience look like? What does a community of resilience look like? And then how do you build resilience from a really early age? And so that's kind of the lens by which we started our brainstorming and really thought about folks that we thought would be inspiring. And I think Tyler mentioned this, but the idea that, you know, we know our colleagues pretty well and we know our specialties pretty well. And so we did try to lean a little bit outside of what our traditional specialties are to bring in folks from other fields that maybe have a perspective that can resonate and support our work, but isn't necessarily where we spend all of our time. And so those were some of the things that we had in mind as we were brainstorming. And I will also, I mean, Paige was an amazing brainstormer of many different folks that she calls herself a fangirl. She's self-admitted, but you know, when we were brainstorming, she said Jim Lebrecht was somebody that she was super keen on having the chance to hear from, as you know, somebody who has had such a fantastic career in the arts and really groundbreaking kinds of work. And I think the fact that we got him, she was like, okay, that's good. Everybody else is fine. Fill it in. But, you know, I think we really tried to reach it for some folks that had an interesting perspective on some of these different things. And we're so excited about every single one of the speakers, and really feel like they each bring a unique perspective and set of work to the table, and hopefully really spark some curiosity, because, you know, at the end of the day, they only get to talk for 20 or 30 minutes. And so it's just enough that I think my hope is that everybody takes away a little spark of curiosity to say, what can I look into next, for delving into this area a bit more, perhaps. So we are also very excited about all of the speakers.
Is there anyone else that is excited about someone in particular?
I think I'm always excited about, sorry, that dog is eating the tape. There's been 2 rolls of tape unrolled somewhere in my house while we've been chatting, so that's going to be really fun. I have to say, I really enjoy going to the free papers, because it's kind of people like getting to talk about their research, which is something you're really passionate about. And then I also really love when it's like the early career or like your medical students or your residents working with you, so that they're really getting a chance to like get up there and do it. I think it's such a great, and maybe I'm biased because I've been to the Aacpdm for many years, but I feel like it's a great community and crowd to get up there. And like, if it's your first podium presentation or poster presentation, that it's a group that like wants to hear about what you're doing and why you did it. And so I just think that part is always fun. Like I kind of, like Tyler said, I'm always like, man, there are so many good things at the same time. And so sometimes it's really hard to pick. I have also just like bounced between sessions sometimes when I'm just really excited about more than one. Are you excited about your garbage cans? Yes, we got new garbage cans today. So I think those are just kind of like things I enjoy in general. As you can see, this is one of my 3 young kids, and so
Mom, please want my toy
in a minute we can, okay? So sometimes I'm not really reading the program in depth until I get there, because then I can kind of focus, because my husband and my kids are not coming with me. So then that gives me a little time to just kind of like really just like dive into the program at that time. But I have to say, I do enjoy the free papers and just like the people getting up there, and then their mentors maybe in the audience, and they're really like mentoring and sponsoring up. So I just think it's a, you know, as someone again who benefited from someone like mentoring and sponsoring me to get involved with the Aacpdm and the committees, I just think it's great to see that moving forward.
I'd love to follow up with that. Just the more general. There wasn't anybody that I've had the time to really go through and look at specifically. I think that was what I think you were asking. So I appreciate that Kilby took it in that direction. But I had the community council, which I'm the chair of for the academy. Several of us met last week, and we went through the program quietly together, looking at all of the courses that we thought would be appropriate for individuals with lived experience, whether they're adults, whether they're new parents, whether they're parents of teenagers, or you know, middle school or high school kids, kids in transition. So we really took a very close and thoughtful look at the actual program. And we were able to find 37 courses, not free papers, educational courses that we thought would be fantastic for the various individuals, families with lived experience to attend. And so kudos to Theresa and the selection committee for the abstract selections. But I was amazed, and I'm so excited about all of those because I really, I can't wait to try to figure out what, Tyler, you nailed it. Like, I'm going to have to jump between, it's going to be really hard to pick, and certainly going to have FOMO, but it was really impressive to see. And I'm really looking forward to highlighting those different talks for the families and follow up with podcasts with those folks as a result. So yeah.
Not to jump in here, but I just want to highlight, I mean, that is so cool, Jen. That's like the best feedback we possibly could have gotten, that there's relevance in what is being presented to the folks that it matters for most. And that comes, I think, directly from the number of people that contributed to the education sessions, to all types of presentations. So we did look at the authors that were listed. We asked people to self-identify if they had lived experience of childhood onset disability. And for the education sessions, which you're talking about, the 1 hour sort of deeper dives, almost 40% of all of those sessions that were submitted included somebody that self-identified as lived experience. And the pre-conferences, 86% of those have the voice of lived experience as part of the education panel. And even the scientific presentations, which I think historically are sort of the more like the basic science sort of things that Kilby was just mentioning, where somebody gets up and gives their 6-minute spiel about the cool research that they're doing. Almost a quarter of those also included authors that had lived experience. And so we are delighted that that is the case. Again, we're not the ones going out and encouraging that, but we celebrate it. And we think it really makes the program better because of it, and the experience for all attendees, whether or not you're there as a family member or person with lived experience or not, to be better. And so we are grateful for all of those folks that have contributed, because it really strengthens the program.
Yeah, absolutely.
And actually, on that note, my next question is for Kilby and Tyler. What does it mean for both of you, and obviously, well, for all of us, but Jen and I being people with lived experience, Jen as a parent and me as a person, but what does it mean to the three of you as physicians to have the input, like then and there, of people with lived experience? What does that mean to you? Because you've mentioned that there have been other conferences, or that you've been in other conferences where it's very different. It's very medical driven. I don't know if that's the proper term to say it, but just by you naming these statistics, it really, for me, it means that you were very intentional about putting at the forefront people with lived experience, right? And what does it mean to you, the three of you, whoever wants to jump in first, but to have the voices of people with lived experience, whether parents or like myself?
I can jump in first. So this will be a first for me. I haven't been to a academic conference before where we have this kind of representation, and it sounds really cool because so often we get to these conferences and you kind of get lost in the minutia and debating the finer points of something that at the end of the day, does it really matter? But like, our patients matter, right? Like that's like it's kind of, it grounds it, I think, into sort of the light at the end of the tunnel, so to speak, or the reason that we're going to these conferences anyway is to learn stuff or get better at things or progress research in the tools and techniques that are going to help us help people. And so to see sort of that, to have the scientific part and then the end result, of like, hey, these are our patients here with us. I think that's pretty cool and pretty unique. And I can't say that I've really experienced that anywhere else. So it's cool. I'm excited about that.
Yeah, I have to say, I think maybe it was the conference in Vegas where Christy Malik, Jen, I think you presented with us, and Brenda Agnew, who's also been a really great leader in the community council. I think we were one of the first presentations with lived experience. Like we were talking about kids with medical complexity, and we had two parents with medical complexity help us plan the whole thing and present. And it was really like out of the norm. And so how far Aacpdm in the meeting has come since those few years, I think is great. And I think I know Brenda has worked hard, and Jen, I think you've probably been involved as well. Gonna have a lot of work for you, Azucena, on really having the, if you're gonna present on something about lived experience, there needs to be someone with lived experience presenting with you, that we really shouldn't, as clinicians, physicians, therapists, whatever we're doing, if we want to talk about that, we either need to have lived experience ourselves or invite someone to join us who can. And I think that's like really setting an example for other academies and institutions on just how important that is.
This one doesn't skip.
Yeah, you.
And this is Theresa, and I completely agree with what these folks have said. I think from an education perspective and looking at the research behind good education and good research designs, having a diversity of experience contributing to those questions ultimately yields for richer results in the end. And so I think the advocacy that's been done in the field for inclusion across all stages of the research continuum is super exciting, and it is producing better and more salient results for the community at large. And I think that is something that we continue to strive for. And in a very tangible way, I think what Jen kind of mentioned about the questions that come up in these different settings, even if it's from an audience member of any type, because they come from a different lens, I always learn something as a presenter. I love having a poster at the meeting because you never know who's going to come up and what question they're going to ask. And the more off the wall, something I did not think of, the better, because I will take that back and I will use that feedback to shape what I've done for the next publication or for the next time that I present it, or when I share it with my students, et cetera. And so there is such wealth in hearing from people that have a different lens. And I'm really glad that that is something that is becoming more and more commonplace, as Kelly mentioned.
I think one of the really exciting things this year is the Fred P. Sage Award through the Aacpdm, which, if Theresa wants to talk about a little bit more, is really focused on kind of using any sort of digital media to support the care of kids with disabilities. And we are so excited, my three co-hosts, that we are going to be the recipient of the award this year. It is the first time a podcast is getting recognized, and I think that's so great for what we're all doing, and kind of what Theresa said early in the beginning about how this is how some people are getting their information, and so that we're really harnessing this kind of way to get information out there, and that the Academy is recognizing it. I think it kind of speaks to the Academy being flexible and responding to the times of kind of where people are going. And so we're just so thankful for the Academy, one, for hosting these different committees and getting people together. Why don't you go check it out? From different backgrounds, so that we even met each other, we're in the same room to come up with this podcast. So really our podcast wouldn't exist without the Aacpdm. So it's really kind of full circle to receive the award from the Aacpdm this year.
Thank you so much, Kilby. In that note, actually, you touched on so many, and I mentioned it briefly at the beginning, is there's so many new things this year going on in the conference. And so I want to go to that part is, for example, the early Navigator Access Program. Am I getting it right? That is, at least I didn't see it in Quebec City, Canada, and I would have really appreciated it if they had it. But I'm so glad to see it this year. And obviously, as Kilby mentioned, a podcast won Fred Sage Award. So I'm really excited. So lots of new things going on this year. So can you tell us more a little bit about all these new things that are being incorporated.
Sure, this is Theresa. I will talk about the Access Navigators program. It is something that I am excited about and privileged to be able to bring forward. As you mentioned, because of the nature of our attendees, like best practices for meetings, we always ask in advance if there are access needs. And so we do our best to approach that. And oftentimes things come up in the moment that were unanticipated for a wide variety of reasons. And I think that it became clear to me that that was something that we could crowdsource to improve, that we have a lot of allies within our community, whether or not they can immediately solve a problem, that together we could collectively make the experience better for everybody. And I think that providing access is critically important. People are investing their time and their resources to be present. And we have a responsibility to make sure that they can see and to experience and to learn as much as possible. And so this idea was really a crowdsourcing kind of an idea to get folks to step forward to volunteer to be an access navigator. And so basically what that means is that you wear a button to kind of identify you, and you have a fast track line to the staff and the hotel staff that can help to solve any access needs. You can also be a point of service person if a need is easily addressed, such as directing somebody to a family restroom, to an elevator, to open a door or close a door so that you can hear a speaker well if there's noise in the hallway. So there's a lot of things that we are trying to anticipate, to share with our Access Navigator community, to anticipate, and most importantly, to be a point of contact if there's any concerns that arise at the meeting. This is not directly related to Access Navigators, but I heard just last week, we are so excited to be leaving our impression and stamp on the hotel. We advocated strongly for them to include more switch plates for door openers. And so their largest family restroom that has changing surfaces that accommodate larger weights and everything, they have installed a switch plate on the door due to our advocacy. And that is a bare minimum. I'm sorry that we even had to advocate for that. And I am glad that we are making a mark on the hotel in New Orleans as a result of just trying to think about some of these things. So we talked with the Perkins School for the Blind to get some information about low vision access. We have some instructions available for using the built-in features of captioning for folks that have difficulty hearing. And so just trying to provide as much ease of access to information as possible. We think that's critically important, that attendees are investing to be there. We need to invest to make it worth their while. So I'm very hopeful that that goes well. I'm grateful to the folks that volunteered to support that, because it really is a community effort. And I would hope to think that within our community, whether you have a button or not, if you see something that you can do to support, that you will. Like Jen said, it is within the fiber of New Orleans to do so. And I celebrate that about the folks that we have the chance to interact with. In terms of other new things this year, another one that I'm quite excited about is that for the past number of years, there's been a community forum. And I love the way Jen says it. She says it's a gift to the community that the Academy brings. I appreciate that so much. But we try to offer access to our membership to the local community in the way of speakers, an opportunity to hear from folks that are in town, oftentimes just for the meeting. And historically, that's been done in parallel with the meeting, like at the same location, but on its own. And this year, we're integrating it directly into the meeting. So there is a community forum track, if you will, that the Community Council really helped us to identify some of the education sessions and some of the free papers that they were most excited about, so that we really put those on Saturday. And we invite the community to join us, to sit with us in those sessions, and to be part of the meeting for that community track on Saturday. So we're excited about the implementation of the forum. That has been a longstanding tradition, but we're we're delighted to implement it in that way this year. And so those are a couple of the things, there's other small tweaks that change year to year, but those are probably the ones I'm most excited about.
And actually, one of the things I read when I was looking at the program was that you're inviting local community to attend the conference, which I deeply appreciate. It's like that is amazing. I don't know if you want to add, Jen, a little bit about that, because I know you've been doing a lot of advocacy and sending the community forum to a lot of organizations in New Orleans, and you're on it. So yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, from that perspective, we are very excited to have it and to reach out to the different organizations, schools, school therapists, different private and public, I guess you'd say, hospitals and clinics, as well as the local family support organization, Families Helping Families. So we have 2 local hospitals that have kind of lifespan care, you'd say, I guess. We've reached out to both hospitals. Well, they've got the pediatric hospital, the Children's Hospital of New Orleans, and then we've got, which also expands to LCMC, so that's got some adult care there. And then we do have the Aacpdm Hospital and its affiliates around the state that serve children with cerebral palsy and then adults with CP as well. So yeah, through my connections, I've been able to send lots of emails out to lots of people and ask them to spread the word, and I've gotten lots of good feedback from folks, and then also to the schools and the different school therapists that I know, and some of the private early intervention therapists that are in private practice with groups as well. So we'll see. I know that we have numbers as far as people that have actually signed up to attend the entire meeting. I haven't actually, as of the recording of this podcast, I haven't checked to see how many people have signed up to attend just the forum. But I was excited to see that folks were actually signing up as individuals with lived experience to attend the entire meeting. And so that was great news to hear. So we've got both options available. So if there's this, for families, working parents and kids, that are in school and that kind of stuff, Saturday is a great option. If you can sign up to attend the whole meeting, I think that's fantastic as well for the locals.
That's amazing. Thank you for
Yeah.
all your advocacy work, Jen. You work tirelessly, not only for this conference, but like throughout the year. And now we're reaching at the end of the podcast, but I do want to ask, moving forward, how do you think, and this is a question for all of us, but I'll start with Theresa. Moving forward, how do you want this conference to set precedent for future conferences to come? Yeah, what is your vision moving forward as you pass the baton, right? I'm sure you feel a little bit of relief, but
Well, maybe in a couple of weeks. That will be the case. There is plenty to do in the lead up. I think that we've kind of touched on some of the things that I hope the next team will carry forward, and predominantly being you all. I think this idea of really inviting alternative ways of thinking about information consumption and leaning into the strengths of our community and the ways in which we can engage a broader community, I think has been really exciting. And I thank you all for being a part of that, because truly, I don't produce podcasts. I don't know how to, but it is such a privilege to be able to talk with you all and for you to help share the message of the things that we do and encourage other folks to get involved in a variety of different ways with the organization, including the meetings. And I think I'm hopeful that our vision of sort of a welcoming, celebratory environment comes to fruition, where everybody feels a sense of belonging and a home, an academic and sort of collegial home of sorts. And if that comes to pass, I would hope that continues for future. And Philadelphia is coming up in 2026. And that is, I think, an amazing thread to continue. And it's not something I'm creating. Obviously, I'm taking the baton and you know, realizing it within the New Orleans context, and then I'll be passing it along for next year.
Jen, go ahead.
Yeah, I'll be happy to just, first of all, kudos to Theresa. I'm so excited about the community forum and this and piloting what we're piloting this year, with having this community forum be a track. That's something that is not separate. It's they're now together for the Saturday program, and I think it's going to be a huge success. So I'm excited about that, and I'm excited to see it move forward, because I think what's going to happen is it is going to be one of those things where everybody's like, oh, this makes so much sense, and we should, you know, I think it'll be great to carry it forward. So I'm excited about seeing it work, and then seeing how we can just expand it. And Kilby mentioned Brenda Agnew and her, you know, no, nothing about us without us philosophy with these presentations. And you know, I agree, and I think it would be, you know, as this moves forward, seeing this community track become truly embedded into the fiber of the academy, and you know, so that it really does that, you know, it makes so much sense that the professionals are being educated alongside the consumers, alongside the people they're caring for. And you know, some things aren't always going to be perfect, but you know, I think that it's just adds so much more to the richness. And the academy's already there; they're already doing it. You know, and just really embedding it, and can be a model for so many other academies as well. So I think it just strengthens the academy.
Tyler, and I actually have a question for you. Since you say you're the official podcast for POSNA, if I understood correctly, since you'll be attending the Aacpdm this year, will you be taking some of the things in the Aacpdm, or observing elements and trying to perhaps implement them, or I don't know, mention it to the POSNA committee and say, hey, maybe we should try this. I saw Aacpdm try it. Why don't we add it? Or I don't even know if that's possible. I'm sorry, but I'm just curious.
Yeah, well, I know Poston's always looking for ways to, you know, reach their target audience and help their target audience reach their patients. I am not situated on any sort of decision-making committee or capacity within POSNA, but can definitely get the conversation started with people who are, and maybe highlighting kind of the experience from what I get out of from the meeting next month. So potentially, because I think it's a really cool idea. And like I said, I have not yet been to a meeting where we're closing the loop like that, with sort of like the, you know, the patient front and center, participating actively in the discussion as well. So pretty cool.
And actually, with that being said, and you mentioned it, it's less than a month away. So we definitely want to encourage those who have not registered to definitely register, because I'm really excited about it. So where do people need to go, Theresa, to register or get tickets, or, you know, how does it all work?
Yes, thank you for asking. And I think that we talked about the FOMO of how do you choose. Hopefully, this is drumming up a little bit of FOMO if you have not yet registered and want to join us in New Orleans. So you can do advanced registration on the website through the 13th, which is actually the Monday before the conference starts. And that does save you a little money compared to coming on site, but you are certainly welcome to show up in New Orleans, and we'd be happy to welcome you with open arms. You can register on site there if need be, but there is a little bit of a higher cost for that. So I would encourage advanced registration for anybody who's thinking about it. And I believe that there's a networking celebration on the Friday evening. I think there's still a few tickets available for that. So that should be kind of a fun time to relax a little bit in a very packed program. But certainly you can go to aacpdm.org and click on, there's a big banner that has our meeting logo on it, and that's where you can go to get to the registration. And we would love to welcome anybody who's thinking about it. And thank you so much for the opportunity to share this in advance.
No, thank you for all the work that you've done throughout the year. Well, all of you at the Aacpdm and Jen, and it's amazing. Hopefully, this podcast really, as you said, gets people to, if they haven't registered, to register. I just want to thank my co-hosts one final time, Tyler, Jen. If you want to end with any final words for today, I just want to say thank you so much.
I'll just say thanks and looking forward to seeing y'all there.
Same here. Can't wait to have y'all in New Orleans. New Orleans. Can't wait to see you all there. I'm really excited to have everybody in our hometown.
Well, thank you so much, everyone. And that's a wrap for us. We hope you register. The information will be in the video. So we hope to see you in New Orleans.